Okay, so we've now finished removing all the packing tape, all the orange packing tape, and a bit not to forget is inside this area here there's some packing bits that need to come out, so they're all gone. Okay, down to the back of the machine. Now done. It's plugged into the network, like its LAN cable there, plugged into the mains, powered the machine on, and the machine is now turning around saying, right, it needs the inks installing. So come over to the left hand side of the machine and start plugging the inks in. You can hear that every time you successfully install an ink, the machine will beep. Right, these are HP startup inks, so little 40mm ones. When you come to replacing the ink on this machine, go for the larger capacity. I think it's 130mm, much more value for money. But HP just not being particularly generous on the initial machine sale. Okay, that's what the panel is going to do now. The machine comes with setup printheads installed. So what the machine's now going to do is start pumping that ink. You can probably hear that motor running in the background there. So what it's doing is pumping ink through the system until it gets to the setup printheads, and then the front panel will tell us to replace the setup printheads with proper printheads when it's ready. So we'll leave it to do that and come back to it in a minute. Right, the DesignJet's now finished priming the tube system, and it's asking us to go in there and now replace the printheads for the proper ones. So just a case of opening up the front window, see that the carriage is moved over to a position where it's accessible, unlatch the carriage. You can see in there little setup printheads, orange things. Pull them out. That's what they look like. Don't really resemble a printhead at all. They're just there to vent the air out the tubes and fill them with ink. We've got 3 of those to get rid of. Then take the actual printheads I've already unpackaged. Take the protective cover off the head. And install it into the correct slot in the carriage. Here the machine beeps every time it accepts the printhead correctly. Okay, that's the 3 heads installed. It's a 6 colour system, but each of the printheads caters for 2 colours. Right, then all we need to do, relatch the carriage. See that metal clip there? Just hook it using the blue lever, click it back into position and shut the top window. And what the machine will now do is check the printheads and hopefully come ready. Right, so it's taken about 10 minutes and now the ink system's ready and it's moved on to the next stage of the setup. It's actually on this machine is activate the web enabled printer. So what we're going to do, we'll press continue on that, and it will go through the network, internet connectivity, and then look for printer updates. So continue. It's sat on a DHCP server here, and we plugged it into our LAN, so it's picked up an IP address. Continue. It's just checking it. Okay, so it's finished checking, everything's ready, it's connected to the internet. Just running through several checks. Just really follow what it's saying on screen. And set to automatic download of any new firmwares, so press continue on that. Now checking the firmware on this machine against the latest revision, see whether it actually needs updating. Congratulations, you've completed the wizard. You are now ready to use your printer. An automatic firmware update check will now be performed, so continue. It's obviously found new firmware available, status of downloading. And that's going to take about 20 minutes, so we'll come back later. Right, the printer's now finished downloading the firmware update, and on the front panel just tells you there's a new firmware downloaded, ready to be installed, and we just have the option just to install. Just warns you that once it's been installed, the printer will restart. Okay, printer's now going through doing its firmware update, and what we'll do is we'll come back to that when it's completed. Well, the DesignJet was in the process of doing the firmware upgrade, and it's actually come up with a system error code, an 0811 code. So not the best introduction to HP, and it's telling us that we need to restart the printer, and hopefully that will resolve it. Can't do that via the front panel. That's locked out, so round to the back of the machine, and just a hard power down. Now power the machine back on again, and we'll come back to it once it's booted and see what happens. Right, so we've rebooted the DesignJet and the error code's gone away, and printer's come ready, just asking us to load a roll of media so that it can align the printheads for the first time. So all we need to do, tell it on the front panel we're going to load roll 1. There's 2 rolls on this system, on this machine, and it'll instruct you what you need to do, which is open up the roll cover, remove the spindle. The spindle's got a diagram on there showing you which way round the paper ought to be loaded onto it. Remove the end cap, take your roll of media, make sure it's pushed fully home, but don't go dropping it or you will smash the end of the spindle off, and just clamp the paper into place and load back onto the machine. grabbed automatically by the bulb, or by the machine. And what the machine's doing now, it'll size the paper and it'll check it for any skew. It's asking me what type of paper we're using. We're just using an HB bond, so select that. Close the lid. And what the machine will do now is just go straight into running the Printhead Alignment. That's going to take a little while, so we'll come back when that's completed. Right, the DesignJet's now finished running its Printhead Alignment, and all being well, you should have an alignment sheet that looks like this. It's gone through, tested all the printheads, made sure they're all firing correctly, which they are, and the machine's now come ready. So we've managed to build the machine, set it up to our network, update the firmware on it, run the Printhead Alignment. The whole machine's ready to go, and if we look at the stopwatch, it's taken us just under an hour and a half to complete that on this machine. So there we have it, setting up the DesignJet T1300. Oh, and the all-important resolution badge on there. Right, so we've finished the hardware setup on the DesignJet T1300, and now we're just going to run through the software setup, get it set up on our system. So I've installed the HP CD that comes with the machine. It didn't actually auto run, so I had to manually go into the CD and select setup. So we've got this window here up, so go for software installation. Just going to go for an express network install, top option there. So the setup program is automatically going out there and looking for either T790s or T1300s, and it's found one there on our network. Top item there, so that's the only one on the network, so we'll proceed with that by pressing next. Okay, well that's fine. The IP address has been allocated by our DHCP server. Press install. I've come across the HP ePrint and Share application, which I've already got installed on this PC, so telling me I don't need to install it again basically. Oh, not the best introduction. Setup error. Have a look and see whether it's actually added the printer, so we'll go for a restart later option. Exit that. Well, it's
just added the printer there. So what I'll do is just quickly attempt to print from it and see what the outcome is.
Okay, so you saw we sent the test print to the DesignJet to see whether or not it had installed successfully. Well, got into the room where the DesignJet's set up and didn't quite get here in time to actually see it printing, a little bit quicker than I was expecting. We see there we've got the Windows XP printer test page successfully printed, so I suspect the error that we saw on the software install was just the ePrint and share, because I had a newer version installed on that PC already. It's errored on trying to set up an older version that the machine was shipped with. Obviously HP are updating utilities like that all the time. So it appears that we've got a successful setup of this printer, and what we'll do is we'll send a proper test print over to it now just to make sure everything's working 100%. Right, so we've now got a test document up. It's just a PDF, some internal elevations, architectural drawing, and what we'll do, I'll press print now. And then we'll wander over to the plotter and get an idea of how long it takes to process and print that job. Okay, we've arrived at the plotter and it's already printing it, so it's processed it very rapidly. Okay, so in the real world, not what the manufacturers are claiming, what we've done is send an A1 plot to this DesignJet in colour, normal quality, not draft, and it's produced it in just under a minute. So really quite an impressive piece of kit, this machine.